Hello, it's Cree, and I'm recording this just as a voice recording because I just snuggled into bed with clean, warm blankets and dogs on either side of me. And I turned the light off, and the lighting's so bad that I thought I'll just do a voice recording. I first would like to give you an update on my ankle. It was infected, and I did succumb to antibiotics. And I know I've talked in the past about antibiotics, and but I'm using them because I suppose I gave in to the fear of the allopathic physician. I did not want the infection to reach the hardware holding my bones together, because supposedly if that were to happen, I'd have to have a surgery to remove the hardware. And that may happen down the line, but I don't want to have another surgery anytime soon. So I'm taking a course of antibiotics right now. But it seems to be doing better. I can at least walk on my leg today. There's still some pain, but as long as I don't do too much, it seems to be okay. I'm obviously supporting my body in other ways. However, I am taking a probiotic. I'm also using herbs that enhance the lymphatic system and the kidneys and the adrenal glands. And another herbal formula for lower circulation. And I'm really just trying to move things because I think what I described in my last video is that the scar tissue is pretty thick surrounding my ankle. So there's a lot of scar tissue, there's all of the hardware, and I'll be putting some images in this video of the x-ray and whatnot and other things. But all of that, it creates these pockets of toxicity, of acidosis. And when there's that much acidity, that just kind of becomes a breeding ground for pathogens. And why do pathogens show up? Well, they're there to help us. They're there to help break things down so that we can rebuild anew. And had I not had all of the scar tissue and hardware present in my ankle, I would have most definitely healed this naturally. But I'm going to go the allopathic route because, my surgery was a treatment in allopathic medicine. And as I've mentioned, I'm grateful for orthopedic surgeons, and I'm grateful for emergency medical doctors, because if it weren't for them, I would not be able to experience life on two legs. So it's as simple as that. I think not everything is 100% bad. It's like with anything, there's always these little tidbits of benefit, tidbits of truth that are present in any system so that that system can continue on. So they do provide some benefit, but don't let the benefit they provide mean or equate that everything they do is virtuous, because that is not the case. That's not the case with allopathic medicine. That's not the case with government. That's not the case with our educational system. So don't give in to just the little benefits you might receive. And that's the beauty of being sovereign. I think this isn't exactly what I wanted to talk about in this video, but I'll mention it now. I've had discussions about anarchy with certain people, and they always bring up that, we need a system in place to help everyone. Well, we have each other to help. And so maybe this will fall in line to what I wanted to really make this video about. And that is that each one of us is incredibly powerful in our ability to change our reality. And it all begins with our thoughts. It begins with what possibilities we can conceive of. And what that is our imagination. What kind of world can we imagine? It's crazy when I bring up certain topics with people, like the topic of anarchy. First of all, anarchy has been given such a bad rap. Most people automatically equate it with chaos, with disorder, and they'll say something like, "Oh, well, if we don't have any rules, people will just go around killing each other." Well, first of all, as I've mentioned before, anarchy does not mean there are no rules. It means there are no rulers. It's a world without hierarchy. We're all equal. And if we're all going to be equal, we all are sovereign, which is truth, which is by nature what we are, then we have to reach out with each other, because that's the only way to survive, is to realize that we are all connected. And so the system in place, which is a system of archons, a system of rulers, a system of hierarchy, where the powers that are in place, or what I like to call them, the powers that should not be, these powers do not want humans to know their true potential. They don't want us to realize how powerful we really are. And it begins with them numbing the right hemisphere of our brain by way of 12 years of public indoctrination. I was watching a YouTube video today where David Icke was interviewed, and he talked about this in this video, and I completely resonate with it. I'm, a college professor, and I'm in the system. I am in the system that I'm trying to change, and it's one of those places of balance where I have to see how I can implement that change the best way I can. But being in the system, I can see just how corrupt it can be. And education is, what it's trying to do is to mold humanity into obedient tax slaves that are going to keep the system going. So it's creating cogs for the system. I hope I'm saying that right. That's what public indoctrination does. I call it public indoctrination. Most people call it public education. It's to create order followers. It's to create obedient tax slaves. Look in your normal conversations with people and just, be very present when you're talking with someone, and notice how so many people think it is so, virtuous, it's so great when people are just so obedient, and when they follow the rules, when they're good people by doing what they should do. It's crazy. I like the people that do what's rational. I like the people that can see truth, and they follow that truth, whether or not a rule says it's okay to do it. That's what I see as virtuous. And the rules that are in place are there to keep us into this mode of just following a system that is completely immoral and completely corrupt. So coming back to education. So why is education, why is public education, or our modern educational system, where they take young children, and they're taking them earlier and earlier. And the reason why this has been allowed is because we live in a system now where if you are a family and you have children, you can't afford to have children. So both parents have to work in order to keep food on the table and to feed their family and to provide them shelter. So both parents have to work. So no longer are the days where most people can stay home with their children and teach them themselves, which is really terrible. But with that said, both parents are working. So, it's easier for the parents to give their children to the state. And so these kids are in school 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And there they are taught to be obedient. They're there to become parrots, to just reiterate what they're being told. Critical thinking, even though they'll say, oh, we're trying to teach our children to think critically, when you really study, when you really look at what they're being taught to repeat a set of rules that that are being pushed down their throat. And it's sickening. It is sick. There's nothing there to enhance the imagination. In fact, when you look at most programs at most public schools, they're taking away all of those programs that enhance imagination. I know in the small town where I left, a good friend there, her daughter is in the public school system, and she was fighting for them to keep the art and music programs because they wanted to take that out of the school system. And I applauded her for really trying to keep those in there, because children need music, they need art. They need to be able to create something that wasn't there before. Not to just keep this system going. And that's what the educational system is doing. It's giving you this box and giving you a timeline so that you can, maximize your life in this box. And this box is called, what's going to be your job? We're creating people that get jobs after they graduate. Is that really what life's all about? Going to school for 12 years and then, spending way too much money in college and grad school so that you can get a job? And have you noticed how many people need advanced degrees now? No longer are the days where you can just get a bachelor's degree and get a good job. No, now you need a master's degree or a PhD to do anything. Well, all you're doing is creating more debt so that you can stick with your job and not expand beyond it so that you can be a good tax slave. I mean, the system is set up to keep you stuck in it. And they begin with our children by stripping them of their right hemisphere, their right brain, and stripping them of their imagination. You've probably seen studies where they've done different types of tests for imagination. And the children, at the age of 5, 6 years of age, they score very high. Their imagination, at the very beginning of public indoctrination, is very high. And by the time they're in 7th or 8th grade, they pretty much have no imagination left. They become very cynical. They become very trapped. Now they're just looking at how they can best fit into this system. What kind of job do I want when I grow up? Do I want to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher? What can I do to keep this system going? That is what the system promotes. And when you look at people, then they talk about it. Oh, my daughter's going to medical school, or my son's going to law school. He's going to be an amazing lawyer. Or maybe my son or daughter want to join the military. Oh, isn't that great? They want to be an order follower. I mean, do you really know what the military is? It's order following. People that are in the military are simply following orders. And the police do the same thing. Police officers just follow orders without thinking about what they're doing. And if you try to question them, that's their response. Well, I'm just following orders. Like, that's virtuous. It's not virtuous. We have to start pointing this out to people. That it is not virtuous to just follow orders. And it's not virtuous just to follow a system that is corrupt. We need to get out of this system. So I'm pointing out a problem, and now I want to point out a solution. How can we get out of it? How can we change it? And each of us has the capacity to do that. So there are 3 things that we each have that will help us break free and change this system. Because first of all, you have to have the imagination that the system can be changed, that we are not stuck in this prison planet of debt and slavery and death killing people. I mean, have you looked at any of the images coming from Syria? It is incredibly depressing and sad, and I mean, I can't even think about it because I'll start crying, because it just to see children dying, to see parents leaning over their dead children that are just not alive anymore. They're dead bodies. And meanwhile, in America, we're sitting here complaining about sports and what team's going to win this and how can we analyze, this quarterback's, I don't even know. I mean, sports are so fucking ridiculous. And yet, those are the things we've become entrapped into thinking are great pastimes. I love watching baseball and football and basketball because, it's fun. And I can have a few beers while I'm watching it and eat junky, shitty food and stuff my face with hamburgers and other dead animal flesh. While all of these other terrible things are going on around me, I don't want to have to think about that because my life is already so hard. I already have to work, 60 hours a week. Why do you want to take away my sports? People can't even see how entrapped they are in this immoral system, and it's not creating happiness. These are not happy people. It's a facade if you think, if your baseball team wins, that you're happy. That changes nothing in your life. Your life is as miserable as it was if your baseball team lost. And that's the truth. That is the truth. So before I go off too much on this tangent, I want to again start with solutions. So imagination is important. We first have to imagine a world that is better than the one we live in now. And how do we know that? Well, we have to follow our emotions. So thoughts and emotions are important. Our emotions are a guiding system. They help to guide us towards things or away from things. We all have feelings within us. And unfortunately, for many of us, we are confused by our emotions because emotional intelligence is something we are never taught. In fact, a lot of what television does, mainstream media, they confuse us. They give you these emotional types of stimuli, and then they put messages in there that are opposite to the emotion. And then we start equating our emotions with these untruths, with these lies. I mean, the best example I can think of is commercials, because they do this all of the time. They use emotional tactics to get you to buy something that you don't need. But look at pharmaceutical commercials. Those are the most evil of all of the commercials that are out there. Watch any drug commercial, and at the end of it, when they start listing all of the side effects, while they're listing that, they'll always have beautiful, fun music on, beautiful people smiling and, frolicking in a natural setting, puppies being kissed, children laughing, while you're being told that this drug can do all of the damaging things to your body. Don't let your emotions be hijacked. So the best thing you can do to protect your emotions, first of all, turn off the TV. Stay away from those things that are going to try to hijack your emotional side. Because you have to start being honest with yourself. Be honest with your emotions and learn about them. Investigate them. When you have a feeling, try to inquire what that feeling means. What are you being drawn to? When we look at relationships, a lot of times that's another place where emotions get confused. It's so easy to want to blame humanity for causing all of the world's problems. And I don't blame humanity. I think human beings are amazing. I think humanity is beautiful. The potential of each and every human being is an incredible thing. Yet it's being suppressed. We're being dumbed down. We're having taken away from us our greatest gift, and that is that potential of what we can create on this planet. So coming back to emotions, One of my greatest teachers has been romantic relationships, or relationships with almost anybody. And you have feelings, you connect with someone and you start developing feelings for that person. Have you ever really questioned what are those feelings? A lot of times with what people do is they start having these positive, uplifting, happy feelings around a certain person. And they don't know what to do with it. They don't understand it. They just know they want to connect with this person. And usually the way our culture takes that feeling is they promote things like sex. And so young people are having sex at the ages of 13 or 14 where they don't even completely understand what they're doing. And it's very sad. It's very sad that these feelings are not allowed to go past that level of sex. And then that's why sex leaves so many people empty afterwards. Because it wasn't providing what they really wanted, which is going deep within that relationship and exploring each other's minds. And allowing each other to express what's inside of them and what they can imagine. What kind of world can they create together? We're so fearful of really exploring another person's heart and soul and another person's right hemisphere of their brain. What's in there? Why don't we want to go further with that connection? Why do we replace that connection with things like sex? Usually, with the opposite sex, unless you're homosexual, with the same sex, it doesn't matter. So first, again, coming back, let's review. Our thoughts, our imaginations are important. And then being able to use our feelings, our emotions to guide us. Because each of us has within us a potential that something we need to create, something we need to give to this earth. We are not consumers. We're not here just to take, and destroy as we take it all. We're here to give. We're here to create. So the third thing is action. So if you can imagine it, and you can feel it, then it is your duty to do it. Because if you don't, that is a sin. That is a true sin, because the amount of love and energy that went into creating you, even if you think your parents suck and, you were created by something beautiful. I've studied biology, and I'm a biology professor. And I've taken graduate courses in embryology. And everything that goes into creating a life, whether it be a human life or a pig life or a fish life, that whole process of embryological and fetal development is such an amazing thing. It's beautiful if you look at it. It's beautiful to see how everything is connected. And yet, once a human being or any animal is born, that potential is still there to further create beyond the womb. So don't limit yourself, and have faith that you're here for something, but you have to do it. You have to take action. And if all of us were truly taught those three things as our path, as opposed to this system of public indoctrination where you're given, the steps of what you need to get to a certain job, which is complete bullshit. You're not here to do a job. You're here to create something that wasn't there before. So I'd like to further expand on this in subsequent videos, but I will leave this here. And I hope that this inspires you to to do some self-exploration, because it begins with each and every one of us in changing this world. You don't need anybody to tell you what to do. You don't need a ruler. All you need is to follow what's inside of you. It's there. You were born with it. You have to set it free, and you have to do something about it. Thank you.